X-rays of a patient who had their legs lengthened and height increased by 6 inches. Both femurs and tibias were broken, and adjustable titanium nails inserted. The nails were then extended a millimeter each day via a magnetic remote control, a process taking up to a year or more to complete/heal. These guys speared 400 invasive lionfish in FL Keys to Wintoni. A shark accidentally drew a shark with its path, which was tracked via GPS. Weather at Death Valley National Park. When you need help at a train station in Japan, customer service literally pops out of the wall. A Troba cave in the Rhodope Mountains, Bulgaria, carved by hand more than 3,000 years ago. Difference between an alligator, left, and a crocodile, right. The molding in the classroom, where my Ukrainian refugee friend is taking a government-mandated German integration course. La Plata, Argentina is one of the best planned out cities. A cannulated cow refers to a cow that has been surgically fitted with a cannula. A cannula acts as a porthole-like device that allows access to the rumen of a cow to perform research and analysis of the digestive system and to allow veterinarians to transplant rumen contents from one cow to another. Raising anchor of your oil tanker, only to realize you've hooked an unexploded torpedo. Cane toads riding a python to escape rising floodwaters in Australia. White, painted stripes on the body protect skin from insect bites. The first time researchers have successfully shown this effect among indigenous peoples who wear body paint. The markings thus provide a certain protection against insect-borne diseases. One of the last people to live in an iron lung. At age 6, Paul Alexander was diagnosed with polio, which led to paralysis from the neck down. The machine is made to compress and depress the chest. Today, he is 74 and still relies on the iron lung to keep him alive. 3M Company, which produces bulletproof glass in Canada, placed a $3 million glass box at a bus stop with the slogan, "If you can break it, you'll keep the money." At nearly 80 years old, Samuel Whittemore was the oldest combatant of the American Revolutionary War. After ambushing British troops, he was shot in the face and bayoneted several times. He was later found attempting to reload his rifle to continue the fight. He survived and lived to the age of 96. Near this spot, Samuel Whittemore, then 80 years old, killed 3 British soldiers, April 19, 1775. He was shot, bayoneted, beaten, and left for dead, but recovered and lived to be 98 years of age. During the 1986 Cleveland Balloon Fest, over 1.5 million balloons were released simultaneously. Aerial embroidery. Mugshots of Australian criminals from the 1920s. A church in my city hung a list of all the refugees that died trying to cross the Mediterranean Sea into Europe. These are just 2 of the 4 pages. A purchase equivalent to almost the minimum monthly wage in Venezuela, $16 US. My local Whole Foods allows payment via scanning your hand. The way Las Vegas just appears out of the desert. The 4,000-year-old skeletons of a mother who was trying to shield her child from a massive earthquake. The Blue-Eyed Butan tribe of Southeast Sulawesi, Indonesia. The cost of this 4-bedroom house in 1958. All countries that have gained independence from UK. Photograph shows a large crocodile killed in Zimbabwe. Behind the scenes at Westminster Hall where Queen Elizabeth II is lying in state, the guards who stand vigil at the coffin take a break in a back room. A 2,000-year-old giant cat geoglyph found amid Peru's famous Nazca lines. A cannonball fired by a British ship in 1776 is still stuck in a church wall in Norfolk, Virginia. On board the ship was the last colonial governor of Virginia as he fled the country in defeat. Map or China city slums. In 1980, these climbers happened to witness the eruption of Mount St. Helens from a nearby mountain. Queen Elizabeth II met Marilyn Monroe in 1956 at the premiere of the Battle of the River Plate. Both women were 30 at the time. AI generates realistic World War I trench image, but tries to include Getty Images watermark from reference material. 4 different tiger fur color mutations. From left to right. Snow white, standard, golden and white. During the 1950s, Las Vegas added atomic bomb detonations as the many attractions Vegas had to offer, and promoted itself as Atomic City. They even issued a calendar for tourists with times and the best places to view them. Over 12 years there was an average of 1 bomb detonated every 3 weeks. My grandma served in World War II with the Queen. She wrote a letter to her in 2015 and got a reply in the mail from the Queen's Lady-in-Waiting. The giant wood moth is one of the largest moth species in the world. According to the Australian Museum, adult females are about twice as large as males, can weigh up to 30 grams, and have a wingspan of up to 25 centimeters. They live in the forests of Australia and New Zealand. Storm Arwen winds caused moorlands grass to weave themselves around a fence. Carbon footprint was BP British Petroleum's PR campaign to people blame theirself instead of big oil companies. Sending Negroes to the sympathetic north. Mr. Lameth thinks there would be good policy, as well as right, in sending African slaves to the north. In his own words, the north steals our slave, and this union was nearly ruptured a few years since, in the effort to retake them. But, while she does so, she has no use for such a population. A single cargo of native Africans, much cheaper than our slaves, would go far to cure her of this form of her philanthropy. Instead of organizing bands to entice our slaves away, she would be even more instant in organizing bands to keep them out. And perhaps it would be difficult to conceive of an act more wisely patriotic than would be that of sending native Negroes to the northern states. A truck escaping the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. The size of these timber wolves with a woman. Roman mosaic discovered during the last excavations in Pompeii. Oxford then and now. The first image is the High Street Oxford oil painting by J.M.W. Turner that was exhibited in 1810. The second one shows the same street photographed recently by David Fisher. Tornado in southern Romania 2019. 5.3 LV8 Tesla. Coke bottle that hasn't been opened in near 40 years. British hooligans form an orderly queue to loot a store during the 2011 London riots. Masami Orimo, a Japanese musician who uses her prosthetic leg as an instrument. The detonation of a nuclear bomb, captured by Harold Edgerton's Rappatronic camera in 1952. This particular Rappatronic camera had a shutter speed of 100 millionth of a second. Zhongshuch bookstore in Dujiang'an, China. Got pictures 1981 of a home my great-grandfather built by himself with giant rocks from Lake Erie and beer bottles. Home even was Flintstone looking inside. Story inside. Two pictures of Lake Oroville in California. Top picture is 2019. The bottom photo is last month. UV light machine in hospital to sanitize the whole room. The Bornean pig, also known as the bearded pig, lives in the rainforests and mangrove forests of Sumatra, Borneo and the Malay Peninsula. Black night leopard gecko. In Sweden for the first time, and visiting the National Museum, I found a meme in its natural habitat. This back foot of a kangaroo. The Nine Muses, the goddesses of the inspiration of literature, science and the arts. 2,000-year-old Greek mosaics uncovered in the city of Zugma, Turkey. A village settlement in Denmark. Moth eggs carefully placed on a leaf. Demon within decaying mausoleum. Volcanic lightning. Lightning strikes Japan's Sakurajima volcano as it spews red-hot lava, creating a terrifyingly beautiful display. Goodfellas, behind the scenes. Outside the Hong Kong British consulate, Hong Kongers never naively saw the Queen as a saint. We cherish the memory of the Queen, because the Hong Kong under your jurisdiction represented a glorious time, a free era. You were the beacon of freedom, the epitome of civilization. Styrofoam McDonald's cup left outside at my grandma's 4 years recovered today. Thing's got to be a few years old, and has barely deteriorated from weather and temperatures. Now imagine this all over a city or a countryside. Pretty sad. The guy who invented the high five in the 70s is still alive. Dusty Baker. ESPN did a 3430 on this. The high five. The list of regicides, which contains the signature of everyone who signed the death warrant, ordering the section of King Charles I. Astronaut Muslim from Malaysia praying in space. 1997, a cat named Stubbs served as mayor in the Alaskan town Talkeetna for 20 years. This photo of Comet Leonard wins Astronomy Photograph of the Year 2022, a subject that will never be seen from Earth again. The throne room in Galeston Palace, Tehran, Iran. The maned wolf is a large canine of South America. The maned wolf, known locally as Lobo guara, is found in Argentina, Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, Paraguay and is almost extinct in Uruguay. It is the only species in the genus Chrysocyon. Royal armor of King Henry II of France, made in the 1550s. After a period of 75 years, cheetahs will once again roam in India. 8 African cheetahs are being shifted from Namibia to Kuno National Park, India. The last 3 Indian cheetahs were hunted down by a local king in 1947. A special flight is being operated for the mission. The Gwangyang Steelworks in Gwangyang, South Korea, the largest facility of its kind in the world. This image is 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers, from top to bottom. I used to be a security officer at a Boeing Aerospace manufacturing facility. This notebook was gifted to me by a, now late, aeronautical engineer. It contains all sorts of brainstorming that went into flight technology. Captured 3.7 million frames to photograph these 5 planets in one night. Cockpit view of the Millennium Falcon, B-29. Reading benches in Bulgaria. This is the world's largest astronomical clock located in Prague. How much the way states vote has changed since Carter. In Iceland, they sell air in a can for $5. Light pollution concept. 9. Inner city sky. 7. Suburban/urban transition. 5. Suburban sky. 3. Rural sky. 1. Excellent dark sky sight. Refueling your aircraft in Alaska be like. View of the pyramids during a solar eclipse, August 30th 1905. Photo by Gilakijin. The four-season bathhouse ceiling in the Iran. Artist interpretation of Cahokia, the largest Native American city in the pre-Columbian US. Time-lapse of how the Empire State Building was finished in just a year. June 26, 1930. July 7, 1930. July 24, 1930. August 18, 1930. September 8, 1930. November 10, 1930. Airplane's shadow inside a glory. The Heart and Soul Nebulae in Cassiopeia that I took from my backyard with my telescope and camera. An elephant protecting its herd charges and derails a train. 128 years ago today, there is buried here a wild elephant who, in defense of his herd, charged and derailed a train on the 17th day of September 1894. Christiania, a lawless area in the heart of Copenhagen. This horse at the beach. Indian driving license that is discouraging drivers to drive by car. Drive only if you must. Use public transport. The 2,000-year-old staircase built into the wall of the Iron Age Broch, or roundhouse, Carlisle north of Galsby in Sutherland, northern Scotland. This fantastic looking little critter is the Bargevant's pygmy seahorse. Start and end of a rainbow during my watch on board the ship. It's corn hand carved pumpkin by me in 2022. F-15A Eagle launching an ASM-135 anti-satellite missile to shoot down Solwend P-78-1 at an altitude of 555 kilometers above the Earth's surface. Andromeda proxy hand carved pumpkin by me in 2019. Tokyo from above. Tokyo is the capital of Japan and one of the biggest cities in the world. It has a population of 14 million, with a metropolitan population of almost 40 million. It is roughly 2,194 square kilometers in size, 847 square miles. Scythian golden goritas found in Ukraine with the scenes of the Achilid epic that would be written only 500 years later. A picture I took of the moon versus a picture I took of the moon during forest fire season. Roman tomb altar showing a deceased lapdog approaching a table set with food offerings. The inscription reads, "Stop to look at the tomb of the jubilant dog Aeolus, for whom I felt immeasurable pain as she was carried away from me by the swift fate." This is the beauty of Laolan, an auburn-haired Tacharian mummy from the Tarim Basin in China that lived 4 millennia ago. Hong Kong's housing style. These are 50 million year old fossil leaves found in the Canadian Arctic. Nickels from the 1980 Las Vegas MGM hotel fire that killed 85 people. They are embedded in liquefied metal that rehardened, leaving the nickels unharmed. Researchers estimate that there are 2.5 million ants for every human across the planet. Approximately 20 quadrillion of them, with 12,000 known species. And burgers anyone. My granddad, former Oklahoma National Guard, still has a large shank from when they were deployed to help with the McAlester Big Mac prison riot in 1973. He traded an inmate a can of Coca-Cola for this blade fashioned from a large steel file, some nails, and tape. Tasmania produces 50% of the world's illicit opioids. The fields are protected only by standard farm fences and warning signs. The Trinity test tower before and after the world's first nuclear test. Warner Brothers crest still in their original 1920s building in downtown Los Angeles. Pleiades star cluster with a radioactive thorium lens from the 1960s Japan. Alain Robert is a 60-year-old French rock climber and urban climber. Known as the French Spider-Man or the Human Spider, he has climbed buildings like Empire State Building, Eiffel Tower, Burj Khalifa and many more. Origami old man study folded from a square of paper. This unicorn elk. Did you know that pilots sometimes load fighter jets with luggage? They do this by using travel pods, as it allows them to keep essentials with them while traveling between bases. The peace walls separating Republican and Unionist neighborhoods in Belfast are still standing, and functional doors can still completely lock them. During the production of Jaws, a custom clapperboard, which resembled a shark's jaws, was used. This is a photo of an insectothopter used by the CIA during the 70s. It was a bug in the shape of a dragonfly. It was never used, as it could not fly well during crosswinds. World War II bunkers swallowed by the sea. Vigso, Denmark. A small town in Mexico named Xbox. The only remaining piece of Sputnik 1, a metal arming key which prevented the spacecraft battery and transmitter touching pre-launch. It is currently located at the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum. Eddie Vedder hanging from the rafters at the Drop in the Park concert in Seattle, September 20th, 1992. Scaly foot snail. Found in the deep sea hydrothermal vents of the Indian Ocean. Their scales are pieces of iron sulfides, which also make up the outer layer of their shell. No tricks, no filters, just a bug I saw on a hike. The Hands of Harmony by Professor Sungup Kim, Pohang, South Korea. Have you ever wondered how tree seeds are harvested? This is how.